Imagine a place within you where longing disappears, where love flows effortlessly, not as a fleeting emotion, but as an endless state of being. Since ancient times, mystics and sages have whispered about this secret frequency, a love that does not possess, demand, or seek approval. This is not a poetic fantasy or a faraway dream. It's a real, tangible vibration, the agapic state that you can learn to access. Today, we're not chasing after love or filling empty spaces. Instead, I'll guide you into that silent center where love radiates from the soul itself. We'll explore ancient wisdom, science, and powerful practices to help you remember. You are already the source of the love you've been seeking. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and let's begin this journey, not to find love, but to become it. And if I told you that there is a state of being so pure, so absolute, that when you enter it, the desire ceases, the need disappears, and all that remains is a constant flow of love emanating from the deepest core of your soul. This is not a metaphorical concept or a romantic ideal. It is a real frequency, tangible in the subtle field, and its name is Agapic State. Since time immemorial, the wise have described a type of love that is not possessive, does not demand, does not exhaust itself, or negotiates itself. A love that is not born of the body or the mind, but of the consciousness itself. In ancient Greece, they called it agape, the unconditional, impersonal, divine love. But beyond the language, the agapic state is an energetic reality. It is an internal space from which the soul remembers who it is, and in that memory a light begins to radiate without opposites, a light that has no shadow. Unlike common human emotions that agitate and dissolve over time or circumstances, the agapic state is a vibratory state. It is not achieved by thinking or wishing. It is embodied. It is breathed. It is activated. And when you do it, something deep changes in your perception of the world. You stop looking for love because you understand that you are already love. This video is a map to that frequency. We are going to explore what it really means to enter that state and how you can do it, from practice, from the body, from the heart. It will not be an empty speech or an esoteric promise. It will be a guide for you to feel, embody, and recognize in you that place of pure presence, where there is no need to fill voids because there was never a void to fill. You will learn how breathing can be a door to the center of the chest where the soul lives, why the conscious visualization of light transforms the electromagnetic field of the heart, how to dissolve emotional need and transform your field into an inner sun, and finally how to remain in that state and become a living channel of agapic energy. It is not just about meditating. It is about remembering, returning to the origin. When you enter this state, something in you stops begging for love and begins to offer it unconditionally. Now that I have told you this, can you feel that center vibrate already inside you? In the sands of the Egyptian desert, under the starry roofs of the initiatory temples, the ancient sages taught that the heart not only pumps blood, but also emits light. This light was known as the silent fire of the soul, and its highest vibration was described as love in its pure form, a love that does not depend on the other, but that sustains itself, like the sun that does not ask permission to shine. This knowledge was collected in multiple traditions. In Greek thought, the term agape was differentiated from eros, desiring love, and philia, fraternal love. Agape was the love that the gods felt for men, and that, on rare occasions, the human being could reach by transcending his ego. It was a frequency of the soul, not of the personality. Philosophers like Plato alluded to it as a reminiscence of the soul, a deep memory that connects us with the source of existence. In the early centuries of esoteric Christianity, the mystics spoke of agape love as the state of Christ, not as a religious figure but as an archetype of the awakened heart. In their hidden gospels, they referred to this state as the kingdom within you, where the world is no longer reacted to, but is responded to from the being. This vision was later displaced by dogmas that put love under conditions, but the knowledge was never lost. It was only hidden. In the East, this state has clear resonances. The bhakti of Hinduism, devotion uninterested in everything, and the karuna of Buddhism, infinite compassion, are vibrational manifestations of the same principle. The Tao, silent and flowing, also contains this mystery, that of an energy that embraces everything without judgment or form. The interesting thing is that, in all these traditions, agape love is not understood as a feeling, but as a quality of the energetic field of the heart when it has been purified of desire, attachment, fear, that is, when consciousness returns to its natural center. With the arrival of quantum physics and the study of human electromagnetism, we are now facing a point of convergence between science and mysticism. The heart has been discovered. It has a much more powerful electromagnetic field than that of the brain, and when the intention aligns with gratitude, coherence, and surrender, this field begins to irradiate at a higher frequency. It is no coincidence that many experiences of spontaneous healing begin with a feeling of absolute love, of deep belonging, of agape. Returning to the agape state is then remembering the most forgotten spiritual technology of the human being, the ability to love without need, to offer without fear, to emanate without calculating. And that, in a world that has made love a currency of emotional change, is a revolutionary act. Imagine for a moment a flame that does not burn to consume, but to illuminate. A silent flame, without smoke, that does not feed on desire, but on presence. That fire dwells in the energetic heart of the human being, and entering the agape state is turning it on without expecting anything in return. But how do we get there? What keeps us away from that frequency that we long for so much, and at the same time we avoid so much? To understand it, it is necessary first to distinguish two inner movements. The first is the movement of lack, that emotional impulse that makes us seek love in the other, recognition in the gaze of others, approval in society. It is an outward movement, as if our energy were constantly poured through the pores of the soul looking for an echo, an answer, a hand that returns us what we believe we do not have. This form of love, although natural in the first stages of emotional evolution, is charged with conditioning. The second movement is that of irradiation, the full consciousness that inhabits the present and recognizes that nothing is missing, that everything is. In this state, the heart does not cry, but sings, does not demand, but delivers, does not claim, but blesses. This is the agape state, and it is not a place nor a passing emotion. It is a tune. The passage from one to the other is not given with mental will, but with an inner alchemy that transforms emotional density into vibrational clarity. Here breathing comes into play, but not any type of breathing. We speak of the breathing of the heart, the one that feels more than one thinks. A breathing that begins not in the lungs, but in the subtle chest just behind the sternum. To practice this transition, close your eyes and imagine that you breathe from the center of your chest. When inhaling, visualize a golden light expanding gently like an inner dawn. When exhaling, feel how that light comes out in all directions, touching everything that surrounds you gently. This simple act, when done with intention and presence, begins to re-educate the emotional body to vibrate at a new frequency. But there is something else. The key is in the awareness of not needing, because the agape state cannot cohabit with the anxiety of obtaining. Therefore, any practice that seeks this state must include an act of surrender. Surrender to what it is. Stop fighting against what was not. Release the tension of what could be. Only then can the light sprout without filters. Here also comes the visualization. In many esoteric traditions, the heart was seen as a chalice or a lotus, a sacred container where the light descended to be transmuted and then irradiated. Then visualize that golden chalice in your chest, and every time you breathe, fill it with white or pink light. Observe how slowly it begins to overflow. You no longer need to fill it from the outside. You are the one who creates the source. The agape state, therefore, is not achieved by accumulating knowledge or conquering techniques, but by unlearning the need to control love. It is not about convincing anyone that you deserve to be loved. It is about awakening the memory that you are already that love in its purest and most formless form. This is the principle. In the next section, we will delve into the most subtle nuances of this state and how to sustain it in the midst of everyday chaos. The true challenge of the agape state is not to achieve it in moments of peace and recovery when the environment accompanies us and the mind calms down. What is truly transformative is to remain there when circumstances push us to judgment, fear, or compulsive desire to control. It is easy to irradiate love when everything is going well, but you can keep the light on when the world around you seems to darken. The agape state is not fragile. It is not an ephemeral emotion like euphoria, nor an idealistic aspiration. It is a form of vibration that has gone through the test of the inner fire. It is like gold. It only reveals its purity when it has been melted and separated from impurities. That is why the ancient sages compared the human soul to a crystal, that which must endure the heat of life without breaking until its center shines like a star in the darkness. Here lies a truth that is often hidden behind beautiful phrases about unconditional love. The agape state requires courage, the courage not to react, the courage not to close your heart when you have been hurt, the courage to remain open even when everything inside us wants to contract. Because agape love is not a soft feeling. It is a firm flame, one that does not hesitate in the wind, because it does not depend on it. A key practice on this path is the art of unconditional breathing. When everything in you wants to scream or defend itself, breathe. Bring your attention back to the heart and observe the tension as if you were the sky watching the clouds. Do not fight. Do not analyze. Only presence. That pause, that choice to remain instead of reacting, is a micro-transmutation. And every time you do it, you reinforce the vibratory signal of your soul. Another essential point. The agape state does not disconnect you from reality. It does not make you someone indifferent or detached. On the contrary, it makes you more present, because you are no longer busy protecting yourself or looking for something in return. You are simply there, being a witness, channel, and testimony of a love that does not ask for anything. It is then that true compassion flourishes, without sentimentalisms or sacrifices. Visualization can also help you anchor this state. For example, imagine that in the center of your chest there is a sun, not a metaphorical one, but a true inner sun. With each breath, that sun rotates slowly, pulsating with a frequency that emits light and heat to your entire energy field. You can even imagine that this heat spreading to your thoughts, emotions, and organs, softening them, purifying them, aligning them. Over time, this sun becomes your center of gravity. You no longer react from the mind, but from the heart. And the most fascinating thing is that being in that state, you begin to affect the energy field of others. Not because you try, but because that is the nature of love. It radiates effortlessly, like the fragrance of an open flower. This brings us to an even deeper aspect of the Agape state. When you hold it, you access an energetic language that transcends words. Your gaze, your voice, your presence begin to speak in a language that the soul recognizes. You no longer convince, inspire. You no longer persuade, infect. And at that frequency, even healing happens. Not because you heal, but because your vibration becomes a coherent field that reorganizes disharmony. One thing is to understand the Agape state from theory or to feel it during a deep meditation. Another, very different, is to live it daily, in the midst of traffic, family disagreements, or internal crises. That is why this section does not seek to elevate you even more to the plane of the ethereal, but to bring you back to the fertile ground where real love is put to the test. Your daily life. How is the Agape state then embodied? To anchor Agape love in daily life is the pause of the heart. Every time you face a tense, uncomfortable, or painful situation, instead of reacting, take a break. Breathe deeply through the nose, bringing the air to the chest, and ask yourself, what would love do now? This simple practice interrupts the automatic pattern of defense and offers you the possibility of acting from a higher and more compassionate space. Another key is emotional hygiene. It is not about repressing what you feel, but about learning to observe your emotions as messengers. When anger, sadness, or fear appear, do not deny them or identify with them. Appreciate their presence, listen to them, and then let them go, breathing gently through the heart. The Agape state is not built on denials, but on emotional alchemy. It is also essential to cultivate a conscious language. The words you choose reflect and reinforce your inner frequency. Speak with truth, but with tenderness. Express your vision without imposing it. Be grateful without reason. And above all, bless in silence those around you. This silent blessing is an energetic offering that transforms relationships without anyone noticing, except you. In the physical plane, taking care of your body is essential. The frequency of absolute love cannot be maintained in a body saturated with toxins, stress, or disconnection. Conscious feeding, enough rest, harmonious movement such as yoga or qigong, and spaces of daily silence are essential for the heart channel to remain clean and available. And if you are looking for a concrete practice to connect with this frequency on a daily basis, here is a brief and powerful guide. 1. Sit in silence. Place one hand on your chest. 2. Breathe deeply but without forcing. Feel how the air caresses your heart. 3. Imagine a golden sphere of soft light in the center of your chest. 4. With each exhalation, let that light expand beyond your body. 5. Feel. Do not think. Do not try to control the experience. Just witness it. 6. Stay there for at least 5 minutes. Then be grateful and open your eyes. Do this when you wake up, when you go to bed, or when you need it. 7. With time, you will notice that your energy field becomes more coherent, your intuition sharper, and your relationships more fluid. What used to be a constant struggle now will be a dance. But above all, remember, living in an agapic state does not mean being perfect, but authentic. Loving from the soul does not imply not falling, but raising you up with more and more compassion. And in that process, your presence becomes medicine for the world. Imagine for a moment that the whole universe is a vibrational symphony, where each being, each thought, and each emotion emits a note. In that cosmic concert, the Agapic state is not just one more note. It is the essential melody, the master frequency from which everything else harmonizes. We have traveled a path that not only crosses the heart, but expands it, reveals it, and consecrates it as the temple where the purest transforming energy dwells. It is not a beautiful concept or a passing emotion. Agapic love is a deep vibration that, once activated, begins to reconfigure your entire energetic, emotional, mental, and physical system, like a hidden sun that begins to rise behind the inner mountains. When entering this state, an almost mystical phenomenon occurs. You stop operating from the need and begin to live from the source. You no longer love to be loved. You do not help to receive recognition. You do not give yourself to fill a void. Now you emanate and radiate. You give because you are already, because you know yourself fully, not from arrogance, but from the humility of the one who has drunk from the source and only wants to share the water. This state does not depend on external circumstances, on having life resolved, or on being accepted by everyone. In fact, it can emerge more strongly in times of darkness, when you choose to hold the flame in the wind. This is where the love of the soul shows its true face, unconditional, unbreakable, invincible. But do not forget, this is a practice, not a final destination. Entering the agapic state is like learning a new language of the soul. At first you hesitate, doubt, stumble. But if you are constant, if you train your attention, if you breathe through your heart every day, something begins to change. A new intelligence is activated. A silent lucidity is installed. And then, without effort, you begin to live from the highest frequency, that of absolute love. Now I invite you to take a break. Not any break, but a conscious break. Close your eyes for a moment. Bring your attention to the center of your chest. Breathe. Feel. Imagine that each exhalation brings light, and each inhalation brings more presence. Stay there, even for a few seconds, because every time you do this, you are reminding your soul of its natural home. And if something inside you has resonated with these words, if you feel that this path makes sense, do not ignore it. Follow it. Because the world needs more hearts lit, more souls emanating instead of begging, more beings remembering that true love is not sought, it is activated from within. If this video has awakened something in you, like it, share it with those who feel like you, and subscribe to continue exploring the mysteries of the soul together. Activate the bell and join us on this journey to the deepest of being. Because this channel is not just a channel, it is a virtual temple where together we remember who we really are.